Okay, Digvijay, we are live now. You can go ahead. All the best.
Hey, good evening, everyone. This is Digvijay Chintawar welcoming you all in today's session of Evening with Kom TV. Career, probably one of the most important topic in our life. Uh, doesn't matter whether you're a student or you're a working professional, this choosing right career, career growth, career challenges, these things are always on top of our mind. But good news, our session is all about that. So you don't need to worry about it anymore. So friends, let me take privilege of introducing you all to our guest, to our today's guest, a trainer who has trained more than 24,000 individuals, an acclaimed IT professional, a biker, a trekker, a social media influencer, and that's not all. Dinesh Anandwar. Dinesh has 25 plus years of global experience in US, Europe, and Southeast Asia. He has worked at senior levels like director, department head at multinationals like Infosys. He has done his education from premier institutes. He has done his engineering masters from BITS Pilani, and he has done his management masters from Indian Institute of Management. He is professional mentor and advisor for IT companies like Amdocs, where he has mentored nearly 3,000 people with one-to-one mentoring, which includes directors and senior managers. He's an adventure lover and he still does biking, rock climbing, and many other adventure sports even at 47 years of his age. He has a huge fan following on FB, like 12,000 plus people, for whom Dinesh is also a role model for his balance for work life, the way he manages his work and his personal life. So, Dinesh, we are very happy to have with you us today, and I welcome you in today's session of Evening with Moon TV.
Thank you so much. Thanks to Com TV for inviting me on this session. Happy to be here.
Pleasure is all of us. So, friends, I'm very excited about today's session. So let's go ahead and let's see what secrets, what gems we are going to uncover in this today's session about one of the most amazing thing, one of the most interesting thing of our life, that is career. So are you all set? Are you all ready? Are you already glued to your chair? Okay. So let's start with today's session. So Dinesh, who is the target audience for us today? Is it the students? Is it the working professional who have just joined their fields? Or is it the seasoned professionals who are already like having 10, 15, 20 years of experience and who are already settled in their career? So who exactly should listen to this session?
This session is primarily for working professionals, and they could be at any level, very senior levels also. It would be helpful to them. So it is primarily intended for them. People who are running their own businesses or even students doing their undergraduate or postgraduate will also benefit from this.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So I'll move to my first question for the day. Uh, so Dinesh, one might say that do I really need to think about career? I already have a good job and I already have a fat salary. So isn't it right?
Interesting to start with, I would say. I like to give you an analogy of a car, example of a car. I would say career is like a car. Like a car doesn't move on its own. You have to fill petrol in it, you have to accelerate, you have to give direction to it. Same is for career. If you don't do anything about career, it won't move. You really have to put petrol in terms of knowledge. You have to think about the career. You have to give right direction to the career. You need to know when to accelerate, when to slow down, and all. Like a car, if it is not running on its own, it can go only downhill. Same is for
Right.
career. If we do not do anything about career, that doesn't mean we will survive. We there is a high probability that we will go down from where we are if we really don't pay attention to our careers. It's important to really think about career, plan about our careers.
Right, and that totally makes sense to me. Dinesh, the second question. This question is more coming from the things that I know from you. We knew each other for many years, and I know. So this is for our audience. Dinesh's son Anurag, he is on the verge of choosing his career. Okay, so he is an excellent dancer. He is an excellent artist. He is very good in academics, but now he's choosing a different career path where he might go for the product designing career when you already have all the branches open for him. So Dinesh, I think this is not the privilege that all of the kids get all the time. Many times parents force them to become doctor or engineer or something like that. So the question here is, while choosing a career, what mistakes shall we avoid?
Yeah, many of us, if we look back in our lives, majority of us, if not all, the way we have taken decision, we tend to be. It seems that we tend to get influenced by somebody. Maybe our best friend, what our best friend is doing, we feel like doing exactly what our best friend is doing,
Right.
or we get influenced by maybe one of our cousins who is working in software going across the globe, so we feel like becoming a software engineer because maybe that gives you opportunity to go across the globe. Or we get influenced by maybe a rich neighbor, maybe who's an advocate, and he's earning a lot of money and a lot of respect, and also we feel like being an advocate. So one of the primary mistake many of us do is we get influenced by somebody around us and by their choices. Now, being an advocate or a software professional or software engineer is not wrong. Basically, the choices are not wrong, but what is right for somebody else may not be right for us. So that's the challenge. We need to look at what is right for us as such.
Right. We need to look for what is right for us, certainly. Uh, so Dinesh, moving on to my shortest and most important question that I figured out for the day: how to choose the most appropriate career?
Yeah, it's a very interesting topic, I would say. And there are movies also on this topic. Like, I'm sure a majority or all, everybody in the audience would have seen movie Three Idiots. So, what's the message it gives? It gives a very key, important message that do what you love. And that's a very interesting message, very important message that we should do what we love. Now, all of us may not have that choice, but I would say ideal scenario is where our hobby becomes our full-time profession. And if we can make our hobby as a full-time profession, I would say that it's a lifetime vacation then, if you can convert your passion or hobby into a full-time career as such. Now, the challenge with that is your hobby might not be able to satisfy, your wants as such, what you want from life. So
Mhm.
definitely, practically, we should all do what we love. At the same time, we need to list down what I want from life. Different people will want different things. There is no one right solution here. You have to decide what you want. Somebody might want a lot of money, somebody might want to be famous, somebody might want interesting work as such, somebody might want very less work and a lot of work life balance as such. So different people aim for different things, so it is important that now you focus on yourself. As I said earlier, don't see what others are doing, but focus on what you want to do. List down what you want to do. Now, see, life is about give and take. So when you want something in your life to happen, you need to give something. And that giving something could be, sacrifices that you have to do, investments that you have to do in terms of your time, in terms of your money, in terms of leaving the comforts of home or hometown. So you have to list down what you want in life and don't get influenced by others. Neither parents, not your siblings, cousins, best friend, anybody, because you are very unique. So list down what you want to do, and find out to achieve that, what you need to sacrifice or invest, and are you ready to invest that? Are you ready to sacrifice those things? The third angle of this decision making is to evaluate your capabilities as such. So it's a combination of what you want in life, list it down, prioritize it, because when you list down 10 things that you want, all of them are not equally important. Don't say, I want
Mhm.
all of them. Maybe you might get it, but you might not get everything. So somewhere we need to prioritize what I want. Then you need to list down what you need to invest in, what you need to give, and you need to assess your capabilities as such. You might want to get into IIT, but you're getting only 52%. So you don't have the capability, for that. So somewhere we need to have basic capabilities in place. So a combination of what you want, what are you ready to sacrifice the required things, and do you have the required capability will help you to make the right decision, I would say.
Okay, so certainly these three things we will take care of. I mean, we will try to do this exercise to understand what exactly we want. Are there any other methods or are there any other techniques to do so, Dinesh?
Yeah, there are a lot of techniques, and using formal, scientifically proven techniques would help. So there are techniques like SWOT analysis,
Mm-hmm.
fishbone analysis, 360-degree feedback, or you can even meet a professional mentor or a counselor to seek his advice. So one can use any of these methods. Let me explain one of the very popular methods out of these, which is called as SWOT analysis. SWOT analysis, SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So that is what SWOT stands for. So you need to list down what are your strengths. List down every strength. Don't worry whether it's a small strength or a big strength. List down all your strengths. List down all your weaknesses. Once you list down all the strengths, list down what are the opportunities which open up for you based on those strengths. Because if you have some strengths, some opportunities will open up to you. For example, suppose if you are good at mingling with people very easily, even new people, if you can build a rapport with them quickly, if you can convince them about things. So if that is, see, it's a rare skill. Not everybody has it. Not everybody can mingle with new people or build rapport with them, and not everybody is able to convince other people. So if you think, I'm taking just an example. If you think that you're good at that, if that is those are your strengths, then the opportunities that open up for you is like you can get into sales and you will do fantastic in sales. So look at your strengths, and that would tell you the kind of opportunities that exist for you based on those strengths. Now, why are we writing down our weaknesses? The reason is whatever weaknesses we have could become threats for us. For example, the career that you want to choose is a software professional, which is a global career, which needs you to be fluent in English. But if your major weakness is your English communication skills is not good, so that's going to be a threat for you. That weakness that you're not good at English is going to be threat for you. You might not get a job because you're not good at English, and even by chance you get a job, you might lose that job. So you need to look at weaknesses because that could become threats for you. Now, other than opportunity, strengths helping you to decide the opportunities and weakness telling you what are the risks or threats. I would say when we make the choices, it is said that you decide career choices by encashing on your strengths and not really worrying too much about weaknesses. So the focus you have to do is what are my strengths and how am I going to encash those strengths to decide a career as such. Now, one of the biggest challenges, and this is proven psychologically, is that when we list down our strengths and weaknesses, so we tend to be biased, and it is proven. There is a psychological research that has happened with a large sample of people, and what this research says is that we may or may not be lying to others, but we tend to lie to ourselves. What it means is that some of us tend to overestimate ourselves, some of us tend to underestimate ourselves, that "Hey, my English is okay, it's not that bad," kind of thing, and actually in reality it might be very bad. So when we do SWOT analysis, I would say that being able to evaluate ourselves properly in terms of writing strengths and weaknesses will be a key step. Then only we can come up with the right opportunities and right threats. So the right self-evaluation is the basis for doing a good SWOT analysis, I would say.
Right, I understand, Dinesh. So I'll take a pause here and I will just announce to the viewers that I'm sure that you are taking notes from this session about all the important inputs that Dinesh is providing. But in case if you miss any, we will make the recorded session available for you in few minutes after this session. And you can certainly go back to the recorded sessions and you can note it down again if you have missed. Also, friends, if you have any queries, you can post it in the comment box and we will try to accommodate few queries at the end of the session. Okay. So, Dinesh, I can actually relate to most of the things that you are saying here. I'm an IT professional myself, and I have been working in the IT field for last more than 13 years. What I have seen in the IT field, what I have experienced is also the competition. So the ladder in the IT field or any field, I know like the competition is very tough today. So climbing this ladder is also a challenge. So what will you suggest how we should move up in our career? Just not IT, but in general for all the working professionals.
Good you use the word ladder. We all want to rise in our careers. That's the main topic of the session. Like how to grow, how to rise in the IT career. When I look at the corporate presentations about career progression, what I typically see is the presentation will show career progression in terms of a staircase. Okay, so like steps like this, there will be steps like this. So you become a programmer, you remain programmer for 2 3 years, then one fine day you go up, you become a team leader, you remain team leader for a few years, then one fine day you become a manager, you remain manager, then one fine day you get promoted to senior manager and you remain there. Now there is a fundamental flaw in this representation of career progression as a staircase, and a lot of people take it literally as if career progression is going to be like that. What people do, not all, but many do, is when they become a programmer for and they remain programmer for 2 3 years, they will remain and keep on doing the same things day after day, month over month, year over year. They just keep doing the same things. Now their capability remains there only, and they expect that one fine day they are going to become a team leader. Now that is not going to work out, and that is where most of the challenges happen. Then people start arguing with their managers, saying, "Let's see, there is no progress for me here. I have been a programmer for 3 years, and now is the time you should make me team leader." And the manager doesn't make him team leader, and there is a conflict. Okay. Now let us understand why this person is not getting promoted, because he's doing the same thing again and again, and his capabilities have not changed. If his capabilities have not changed, why should the organization promote him? Now we need to correct our visualization of career progress as such. So instead of visualizing career as a staircase, I would like you to visualize career as a climb over a gradient as such. Okay. So X is a time axis and Y is your knowledge and capabilities. X is time axis and Y is knowledge and capability. I will say that you are a programmer, as you are progressing, don't do that horizontal movement, make a climbing movement. That is, as you progress, you should keep on learning new things, increase capability. So as you keep on growing up, suppose team leader has to have this kind of capability. So as you start moving from here, when you reach here on the timeline, that is where the organization believes that you are capable of becoming a team leader, and that is where you get promoted. Only because you spend a few years as a programmer, you have no right to get promoted. Moreover, you have to keep on making yourself better and prove to the organization that you already have the knowledge and capabilities and maturity which is required at the next level, and that is where organization promotes you. So that's the basic principle for progression as such. We shouldn't visualize it as a staircase, but a climb on a gradual slope as such. And if the slope is steep, you are going to progress faster. That means in a smaller time duration, if you are going to learn a lot, then your progression will be much faster. You can be youngest in your roles as such.
Right, right. Dinesh, I totally understand. As I mentioned, I have been active field for many years, managing people. So what you are saying is totally making sense to me. So this graph has to be a linear graph, the learning curve, instead of a step curve. It really making total sense to me. And one more thing, what I have observed, Dinesh, with my experience is even uh, when uh, when it comes to any profession and IT, even the people skills and like attitude is also very important. How you are reacting to certain situations. So, what is your thoughts on that? Is attitude important? How should we carry your attitude, or anyone should carry the attitude?
Attitude is absolutely important, I would say. Moreover, I feel that if your philosophy is right, if your fundamentals are right, everything falls in place. So attitude is your fundamental behavior as such. Now, to know what kind of attitude you need to have, one fundamental we need to understand is that if you can grow only when the organization grows, isn't it? Your progress is associated with organization's progress. So if you help the organization grow, the organization is going to take care of your growth. Very simple. So we have to take care of organization's growth. Now, if we have to take care of organizations' growth, because that is going to translate into our growth, we need to understand why organizations exist. So, if I ask you a question, define in one word, only one word, what is the objective why organizations exist? If you have to define it in one word, only one word, why organization? What is their basic or top level goal in terms of existing? And the answer is profit. Every organization exists to maximize their profits. If organization exists to maximize their profit, your attitude should be maximizing companies' profits. That's what you should do. When you maximize companies' profit, company is going to grow and they definitely are going to pull you up into senior levels and responsibilities and on-site opportunities and all that. So what is profit? Profit formula wise, if you go, it is revenue minus the expenses. What is profit? Revenue minus expenses. So if we have to maximize profit, we have to either increase revenues or reduce expenses. So, and you can be at any level. You need not be a vice president or a CEO to increase revenue or reduce expenses. Even a programmer or a team leader can very well do that. How to reduce expenses? If you do some automation, if you come up with techniques of productivity improvement where you are delivering more quantity in the same or lesser time, okay, because of automation, because of using some tools or techniques or some innovation, if you can deliver more quantity in the same time or less time, the expenses will automatically reduce. So your organization is going to look forward to that and understand that we are no longer kids. Your parents will keep on nagging you saying that this is not right, that is not right, this is what is expected of you. And basically that is what may not happen in the corporates, because there's so much of competition. If you don't do it, somebody else will do it. But so if you don't understand this, somebody else will understand it and he will progress and you will keep on wondering why the other person progress. So do innovation, do automation, use tools to improve productivity, which will reduce the cost. Now, how to improve the revenues? Now, to improve revenues, I would say you can deliver better quality. Now, you have to think, you cannot keep on working the same way day after day, year after year. You have to challenge yourself and see that how I can deliver better. Can I do better architecture? Can I do better design? Can I do better programming? Can I make the applications more secure? Can I make the application more efficient, my database more efficient with indexes or normalization or whatever? So make things better. Okay. So earlier I said when you deliver more quantity, the cost goes down. And when you deliver better quality of work, it will delight the customer. So when the customer is delighted, so customer delight is important, and that can happen with the quality of work that you deliver. And when the customer is delighted, what will it result into? He will give you more revenues. So revenue increases, or so he will give more work, because of which the revenue will increase, or he will uh, accept higher rates because he see the value coming from you, and he will give you higher rates and the revenue will increase. So when the revenue increases or the cost reduces, the profit is going to increase, and that is how the organization is going to benefit, and that is how you are going to grow. See, the rules of the game are very, very simple. We need to understand those. And I believe these are the rules. I've played very senior roles. I've mentored people. I've seen people growing. I've seen people stagnating. I've seen people going down, failing. And these are the learnings from that.
Right. So that will be a win-win situation for the organization and the employee as well. Right. And Dinesh, so this is about attitude. When we are talking about attitude, we should also talk about the mindset. There is a fine difference with the direct relation between two. So what should be the right mindset for us to succeed in our career?
I would say for mindset, two important things are ownership and passion. Again, these are fundamentals, and if fundamentals are right, everything again is going to fall in place. So let's understand them. I'll take a few seconds to explain those.
Sure.
Ownership is very important. Let me explain it with an example. Suppose you own a small shop and you're selling something, and a lady comes to your shop every morning to clean up the shop. She works for your shop. She cleans the shop every morning. Now, suppose one fine day she doesn't come for whatever reason, Now, though you might be highly qualified and you own the shop, but you will take the broom in your hand and you will clean up the shop, right? You will not say that, oh, it's not my job. It's none of my business. I'm not going to do it. You own the shop. You want the shop to be clean. So you'll do the cleaning. You'll never say that it's not my responsibility. So that is ownership. Okay. Whereas you should have ownership, and what you should not have is a worker mindset. There are a large number of us, when they start working, they think that अरे job मिल गया है, salary तो आनी है month के end में, so I will do minimum necessary. Salary is the same whether I work more or less. Salary is the same. That is a worker mindset. Now, people with a worker mindset do not progress. Moreover, these are the people who will be fired first in case there is a firing happening. So it is important that we take ownership of our task. Though we are an employee of our organization, we actually do not own that organization. But it is important that we work as if it is my organization. For example, suppose boss comes at 11 o'clock in office and there is a lot of work to be done. The project is under heavy pressure. Now, what is a person with worker mindset do? He will say, boss comes at 11 o'clock, I'll just go 5 minutes before him, just to show him that I'm in office. But person with ownership will say, oh, there's a lot of work to be done and I'm ready at 9 o'clock. I will reach office by 9:15 and I'll start working because I own my work. I own the responsibility. That is going to be the key because we are talking about progression in career. So understand that senior roles like say manager, senior manager, vice president, whatever role we talk about, that role is nothing but like running a small business from every aspect. So the organization is going to keenly check that before promoting a person to whatever team leader, manager, vice president, does he have ownership? Is he going to work as if it is his own company? So develop that ownership. You should work without worrying about is anybody watching me? Am I getting credits for my work? So ownership is important. Second important mindset is working with passion. At the beginning of the session, we talked about do what you love, right? No, that is true. But I would say do what you love is a half truth. It is true, but it is half truth. We should do what we love, but practically that doesn't happen. So, what I would say the full truth is definitely we should do what we love. But full truth is we usually will be given a lot of activities and we may not love each one of those. So the first thing that we have to do is we should love everything that is given to us. Okay. So we should start with loving everything that is given to us. So do everything with a lot of love, lot of passion, and that is where the organization is going to give you growth as such. And interesting part is when you start loving what you do, everything that you do, life becomes a holiday. So if you start avoiding things that I don't like this, I don't like that, why this is given to me, understand that, this is business. So whatever customer gives, your organization will have to do that. And if your organization has to do that, you have to take the ownership and do it passionately. So learn to fall in love with work, because when you fall in love with work, work starts loving you, and life becomes a vacation. And that's the most beautiful thing, because I see that, professional even of 27, 28 years of age who are working only for 5, 6 years are so tired of their work. When they come back from office, I see the expression on their face as if, yeah, as if they're going through a punishment and they're waiting for the retirement. That's not how we want to have our careers. Career has to be a joyful journey, I would say. So ownership and passion are the key mindsets, I would say.
Certainly, so the key mindset, ownership and working with passion, certainly. And as you correctly said, Dinesh, and once we adopt that mindset, it will be the holiday for us the entire time, or weekdays, weekends is holiday, and you don't have to work for a single day then after.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So, Dinesh, we always face many challenges when we are working in IT profession. Uh, there are totally random and multiple challenges that we incur maybe on a daily basis. So, would you like to throw some light on the challenges that someone faces and how to tackle those?
Yeah. See, when we talk about progress, progression, we are talking about change, and change bring challenges. Okay. Let me give you an example. Suppose you are a programmer and you're a very successful programmer. Your programming skills are good. Okay. You are able to design programs well. Your problem solving is good, and you're happy and you are successful. Life is great because you're successful also. Everybody appreciate you as a programmer. You're happy also because of that. And because you're doing well as a programmer, okay, you're producing good results. It is in terms of quantity, quality, you get promoted. When you get promoted, you become a team leader. Okay. Now the problem is that team leader is a different ball game altogether. Because you are successful as a programmer doesn't necessarily mean that you will be successful as a team leader. Suppose you are good at playing cricket. Okay. Does it necessarily mean that if you start playing hockey, you will be very good at that too? Not necessary, because these cricket and hockey are two different games. So being good at one game doesn't necessarily mean you will do well in the other game. That's what happens. Programmer is an individual contributor. He's doing programming. Whereas when you become a team leader, you hardly have to do programming. Your role and responsibilities are very different. You might have to design something, you might have to estimate, you have to plan, you have to delegate work to your team members, you have to track whether they are completing in time, you might have to motivate them. So the work responsibility is completely different. The game has changed. So the game that you were good at, you are no longer playing that game. You are playing a different game that is of a team leader. And a lot of people, though they are good, they are sincere also, they are intelligent also, but they don't understand the rules of the new game. They continue playing the game the same way they were playing the earlier game of a programmer. And though they are intelligent, though they are sincere and hardworking, they fail in the new role because the new role is a different game altogether. So we need to understand that when we talk about progression, as you get into higher roles, a new role is going to demand a new version of you. So we have to be ready for that change. So how do you create a new version of you? You definitely have to learn a lot of new things. You might have to learn soft skills. You might have to learn leadership skills as you go higher in the management roles as such. But other than learning soft skills and leadership skills, I would say there is a unlearning to be done. Like a programmer is an individual contributor, team leader is a leader who should not try to do everything by his own hands. He should be ready to delegating. Many times people are saying, I will do it better than them. Who will spend 15 minutes in explaining them? Better I will do the work myself. No. You have to develop the ability to mentor your employees, motivate them. You should not be holding on to your stuff, but you should be able to delegate work to your team members as such. So I would say those are the capabilities that are required. So as the game keeps on changing in the progression, we have to unlearn something, learn a lot of new things, and we should be open for change. And that is how we can handle the changes in the progression in our career.
I understand, Dinesh. That totally makes sense. Another thing, I think the skills which I think probably are very significant but somehow in our education system or in our society, which the importance of these skills is not emphasized much. I'm talking about soft skills and people leadership skills. Even in IT profession, these skills are very important. So, Dinesh, do you have any comments how one should improve the skills to succeed in their career?
Definitely, they're very important because in the beginning of career, I have seen professionals focusing a lot on technical knowledge and tools, processes, etc., which is very important, which is necessary. And there is no option but to learn technologies, tools, processes, and all of that, frameworks and everything. But as we progress, in addition to that, soft skills and leadership skills are very important. Just to differentiate between them, soft skills could be your English communication skills, your ability to do presentation, your ability to effectively organize meetings would be your soft skills. Leadership skill is a little difficult to explain. Leadership skill is how do you really become a leader to the people? Okay, in terms of can you motivate people? Can you become the role model for people? Do people feel comfortable around you? Do you give positive vibes to people? So that's very difficult to define, right? See, if you're good at soft skill doesn't necessarily mean that you're a good leader. I might be very fluent in my English, my domain knowledge might be very good, my technical knowledge might be very good, but people might be hating me, because I'm not a good leader. So understand the difference. So we need to have good soft skills, no doubt about it, but leadership skills is that taking care of people, motivating them, binding them together, which is very subtle, which is very different. So we definitely need both of these, and now how to gain those. Now, one approach is very obvious. That is, we have to undergo trainings, and there could be classroom trainings that your organization might arrange. So please go through those trainings. Suppose you have a training on a weekday, and if you are very busy, tell your boss that you will complete work by working on a Saturday and Sunday, but attend that session on Wednesday and Thursday. Believe me, it's going to help, because not just IT industry, any industry today is a knowledge industry. So without knowledge, it's like a petrol to the car. Sometime back we were talking about it. Knowledge is like a petrol to the car. If your car, that is career, has to run, you have to fill the petrol, which is knowledge. So please attend classroom sessions. Sometimes if it is difficult, I see that there are so many e-learning sessions that are available, videos that are available. A large number of them are free, a large number of them are paid. So invest. Believe me, that is going to be the best investment in your life. So never hesitate to invest in terms of time, in terms of money, in learning those. Okay, so classroom trainings or online trainings.
And that will be the
Now,
best
everything
investment.
cannot be in classroom sessions. So I would say that another ability that we have to develop is to learn by observation. Okay, not everything will be taught. Okay, there are no sessions for making you a CEO or a vice president or a director. So you have to keep observing and keep learning. Suppose you want to be a CEO one day, which might be after 5 years or 20 years. Observe the CEO when he comes for the annual presentation. You know what he wears. You know how he walks, how he greets people, the content of his session, the style of his. You don't have to copy it. You are a unique person. You need to have a style of your own, but keep on learning from those VPs and CEOs and all that. So learn by observation. When you meet a bad leader, you can learn from him also, because the bad leader may not know that he is a bad leader, but somebody goes, meets that bad leader, comes back to you, next to you in the cubicle, and he says, "Yaar, kaisa manager hai, aise kiya, waise kiya." You understand that what is not liked in a manager by the employees. So when there is a bad manager around, it teaches you what is not good leadership. When you come across good managers, you can observe them and find out, do they build personal rapport, are they good at technology, do they give you a lot of respect, are they humble? So look at those qualities and try to imbibe those proper qualities in you when you meet good managers. So it is important that we learn those skills by either attending sessions or by observing. But even more important is the next step, that other than learning by attending or observing, we have to apply those. So I would say that we all should find out opportunities to apply those leadership skills. Volunteer. Every organization has a lot of social activities happening under CSR. There are cultural activities like dance, etc., happening. There are tech fest kind of activities happening, and there are committees. There are volunteers who participate in those committees. So please participate in those committees, and that is where you become a volunteer, you become a secretary, you become a chairman of that committee. You handle the people interaction, the stress, the managing, the issues, and the dynamics and communication issues, etc. So finding opportunities to apply your knowledge, soft skills as well as leadership skills is very important, because theory does not make much sense. It is your ability to apply knowledge to produce result is what going to matter. So find out those opportunities voluntarily. See, it's not your home where your mom is going to come and give you a cup of tea. Like, the organization is not necessarily going to give you opportunities. So you have to grab. I'm not saying grab opportunities. I'm saying that volunteer for the opportunities. Present yourself in front of senior people. Let them see your capabilities. You have to do your own marketing. Believe me, it's important. Nobody's going to come and find out your capabilities. It's very important to do your marketing, and the best way to do marketing is to take up voluntary work. So you're completing your day-to-day work. You're going beyond your day-to-day work and taking additional responsibilities, and that is where you shine. That is where people notice that your coordination skill are good, your planning skill are good, your motivation is good, your leadership is good. It grows also by doing it. See, nobody is necessarily a born leader. We should be ready to fail also. I remember when I became leader for the first time, I made a lot of mistakes. People are leader, people wanted to work with me. When I changed job, they wanted to come with me and all that. But when I was a manager for first time, I think I made a lot of mistakes. So one should be ready to make those mistakes also. The only thing is we should learn from those mistakes.
Absolutely, Dinesh. I think these inputs are very helpful in developing our soft skills and importantly, leadership skills. So, Dinesh, we are getting literally hundreds of queries from our viewers. So I'll try to go fast from here and try to keep myself to the correct questions. The next set of questions that I have is more inspired from my experience, which I have with you. So, for our viewers, I have been mentee of Dinesh Anandwar for last 18 years, since the time I started my engineering, and I have seen how amazing life he has lived, whether it's a professional life, whether it is his personal, family, or social life. And me and my friends, we have learned a lot from him. And I think the questions or this experience that I'll be asking him, this is going to help us a lot in our understanding, which has done the same thing for us, for me and my friends. So Dinesh, I hope you won't mind. So the next question is about the correlation, Dinesh. We have seen it in with you and with the life that you have spent in last 18 years, which I have seen. So what is the correlation between your career and your personal life?
They are tightly integrated, I would say. Work and life, separating them is difficult practically. You would have seen that if you have a bad day at work, you are not able to complete things in time, somebody shouted at you or whatever, you carry that stress home. When you carry that stress home, you misunderstand others. When others say something in good faith also, you misunderstand them. You say something bad to them, and there is the stress at home goes to of office goes to home, and the home situation also becomes stressful. So I would say work and life are very closely related. If you are having challenges in personal life, that affects your career also. So they are correlated. So if you want to have a good life, a happy life, you need to have a good career also. So I would say that, see, it's not necessary. Like, if you have the audience, if they have seen my profile, have my masters from best of the places. Not just that, I have the masters from the best of the places. My ranks were very high. In BITS Pilani, I got a 9 CGPA. In IIM, I got fifth rank in a batch of 130 bright people. you know so I would say that this comes from following the right mindset as such. So my suggestion to you is that, because work and life are related, and to me, the real success is when you are successful at work and happy in life. I am not saying that you work for 18, 20 hours every day and then become successful. If you do that and if your personal life is screwed, your health is screwed, your personal life is screwed, then I don't call it a success. I would say that success has to be holistic. where you succeed in your career also and you are happy at life also, you have a work-life balance. So where does that work-life balance come? Whereas there is a good balance between work and life, I would say that be excellent in whatever you do. So when your knowledge is good, your leadership is good, your communication is good, you are applying that knowledge and producing results. Believe me, a lot of work can be done in a short time. So my suggestion to you is that whatever suggestions I have given, you can go through this video again also. Whatever suggestions I have given, follow those suggestions, have the right mindset, have the right attitude, make the right decisions. Then what you will see is that you are able to cover a lot of work in less time. Not just that, you will be able to prioritize the work and do something that helps the organization. And I will like to see that when you are good at your work, you should be able to finish your work in time so that you have lots of time for your family, friends, your hobbies, etc. And it is very, very important to achieve the holistic success, which is success in career and being happy in life. And that can be achieved when we follow the best practices that I have been discussing.
This is amazing, Dinesh. Dinesh, I've seen you working on thousand things on daily basis. Looking at you and your life, I can't refrain myself from asking this question: how to be happy?
Yeah, we meet a lot of difficult people in our life, and it is very easy to turn off yourself कि कोई किसी का नहीं है, politics होता है or whatever. I would say that because the responsibility of your happiness is with you yourself. You should never depend on others for your happiness. I'm not saying that be alone or not have people. I have hundreds of people around me, I love them, they love me and all that. So, but I'm saying that you have to be, like what Modi ji said, Atmanirbhar. So you have to take care of your own responsibility. And so the very basic thing you have to do is you have to give yourself priority. And believe me, it's not a crime to give priority to yourself. And when you give priority to yourself, doesn't mean that you don't care for others. Okay, I've seen a lot of people, they don't give priority to themselves, so their health suffers, physical health, mental health. They get very cranky, and then what is the use? You're doing a lot of things for others around you, but at the same time you're very cranky. All the relationships have gone bad, you're not happy, others are not happy. I would say, to be happy, first give priority to yourself. In what terms? Take care of your health is so important. If you are having acidity, back pain, neck pain, or something like that, you cannot be happy at work. So first take care of your health in terms of your exercise. You don't have to be Mr. India or something, but some basic simple exercises. And diet doesn't mean starving yourself. Diet means having a wholesome, balanced nutritional food. So focus on yourself to be happy. Do exercise, diet. Give time to your hobbies are so important. I'm seeing a lot of people becoming machines these days. So whatever, see, which hobby you have is not important. It is sketching, drawing, whatever. Take time out for your hobbies. Believe me, when you give time for your hobbies, you are enjoying and you are recharging yourself. So give time for your hobbies. Spend time with your family and friends. Give time for relaxation. See, family is so important. For we are hiding in our nest, right? With COVID situation, we are hiding in our nest. So we understand how important family is. How important friends are. So share your joy with friends. Support each other. Build a good bond with your friends. It is important to be happy. It is important to share things with your friends or family, your stress, your challenges. Okay, because when you share your stress or challenges, just when somebody hears it out, your 50% pressure goes down. And see, when you are in problem, you might not be able to think about solutions, but your friends or family can give you better suggestion, and you can go to a counselor or a mentor also. What I've really observed is girls or women are good at expressing themselves or seeking advice, and that is why they do really well on the emotional front. But boys or men, or maybe they're genetically different, they want to solve everything on their own, and they rarely have seen share their challenges even with their best friends, and then they become a pressure cooker, and everything builds inside, and that leads to a lot of problems. There are a lot of people who are in depression. They really don't realize also they are in depression. They're not happy. Think about it. all of us have some or a little or more amount of depression. Are we like small kids who are happy all the time? No, that means we have some amount of depression. So it is important to have those open communications also. Other than that, I would say so. Take care of yourself, okay, in terms of health, hobbies, relaxation, time with family, time with friends, share and discuss things, be open, and a lot of things will fall in place. An important suggestion I would like to give is enjoy the journey of life. I've seen a large number of people attach their joy to destination. I will be happy when I become a manager. I'll be happy when I go on site for the first time. I'll be happy when I retire. So please don't attach your happiness to destination. It is a life to be enjoyed. Believe me, every phase of life is so good. I've seen people becoming vice president and saying, "अरे क्या जमाना था, हम programmer थे, program लिखते थे, मजा." And that when they were programmers, they were thinking, when I become a senior manager or a VP or something. So I would suggest that enjoy every phase of life. Corona is a difficult time. We are not able to move out, but find out. Nobody's going to give you, tell you how to be happy. So if it is Corona, if you're not able to go out, so what? Your happiness is your responsibility. Find out ways to be happy. So the suggestion is enjoy the journey of life. Don't wait for the destinations as such.
That's amazing. That's amazing, Dinesh. So I'd like to mention one thing here that we have been getting hundreds of questions from our viewers, and the as and how we are proceeding with the session, we are already covering few of those questions, and I think we are going with the last two questions now, and then we can start taking the questions from our audience.
Sure, sure.
So yeah, and Dinesh, as you mentioned about Corona, so I was just reading the article from CNN yesterday, which says that it will be a tough time, at least next 18 months for working professionals. So we would like to hear a few things, your guidance on that point, how we should tackle this Corona situation.
Yeah, the first and foremost thing, the suggestion might sound funny, but to whatever extent possible, keep on Corona news on social media. Many of us have those trackers installed, and morning, evening, people are saying, "Ki worldwide कितने cases, India कितने cases, Pune में कितने." So why worry so much? So I would say keep away from Corona news, whether it is on social media or if you can keep away from the news on television, fantastic. To tell you, I'm not watching news on television for last 10 years. So much of negativity there, so much of fear, panic created. I definitely read good sources. I read newspapers as such. So I would suggest that keep away from social media and the television news channel, which are unnecessarily create a lot of fear, lot of negativity. Now, am I saying that everything is all right and there are no issues? No, definitely we are going to have challenging times ahead. It is just a beginning. Lockdown is a very small thing. The global economy is severely impacted. Am I trying to scare you? No, I'm not trying to scare you, but it is important. See, the principle of life has to be hope for the best, but be prepared for the worst, I would say. So preparing our mindset is important. So you will start seeing the impacts now. So impacts which are directly relevant to you would be there are companies which will large number of companies or majority, if not all, will not give you salary rise for this year. So be prepared that there is no salary rise. Don't say that my performance has been star performance. I have been working day in and out. All weekends I have worked. I've got customer appreciation. Give me salary rise. You may not get. The business situation is like that. So there might not be a salary rise this year. If you have a variable component in your salary, okay, which is based on company performance, so that will not be paid, which is reduction in salaries. And some of us might lose jobs also. We have to be mentally prepared for that. So some of us might lose job also. Okay, and it may not be because your performance is bad, because your company has lost a big customer, they might have to ask you to go. So mentally be prepared so that in case it happens, it's not going to happen with majority, it will happen with minority set of people. But we should be prepared even without your mistake. Even when you're good, you might get fired, but be prepared mentally for that. I would say, what is the solution to this? First thing, whether it is a Corona situation or no Corona situation, my suggestions are always applicable. They seem more relevant in Corona situation, but they are It's not that when Corona is over, these suggestions are not applicable. They are always applicable. I will say that always, whether the situation is very good or very bad, you should keep yourself technically updated. Your communication and leadership skills have to be good. Another thing I would say that keep your expenses limited. Many बोल रहे हो कि कंजूसी से रहो करके. I'm saying that compared to what you earn, your expenses have to be in limits. कंजूसी नहीं करनी है, and you have to have savings. I always have been having a kitty with me, which will help me survive for about a year in an extreme situation when I lose job. I never had to lose a job. That's a different thing. But I have been prepared, and that's what I recommend to you. That always have a kitty ready in terms of money, with which you will be able to survive at least from 6 to 12 months, including all your expenses, your home EMIs or kids fees or whatever expenses you have. You should be able to survive with that, and understand that don't worry does not help. Moreover, the more you worry, you should think. Okay, people who think are the ones who get good night's sleep. You should not worry, think a lot, plan a lot, and you should not worry, because worry drains out your energies. Okay, and learn the lessons, because see, the times are gloomy, no doubt about it. The times are gloomy, but gloomy times don't remain. Sun is going to shine soon. But even when the sun shines, please don't lose the lessons that you have learned now.
Definitely, sun is going to shine soon, I'm sure. So, Dinesh, I'll move to the last question of our interview today. Um, we have seen you like wandering and traveling all across the world for your training sessions within India, US, Europe, Uzbekistan recently, and then we have seen you on the weekends going almost every weekend. You go for a trek, taking at least tens or hundreds people with you. You have already like organized treks for I think altogether more than thousands of colleagues and friends, and then you go to villages and then you go to schools to teach for free. So, Dinesh, what is the success? What is the secret of your success that you define with all this experience?
I would attribute this to my army education. When I was school, I never thought of becoming a teacher or a mentor or a global professional or whatever. When I was in school, I was in Bosla Military School, Nasik. Then I was in Shivaji Preparatory Military School, Pune. I would attribute my success to my military training, because military training is tough. It teaches you to challenge yourself, to go beyond limits. It teaches you to go out of your comfort zone. It teaches you to make decisions. It teaches you to take risks. And I've been doing adventures also from age 15. I have been doing lots of adventure, like bike riding or even climbing vertical rock walls, etc. So I think my army education and my adventure has given me the ability to take risks, make decision, be optimistic at the same time, planning for the worst case situation. And I would say that is the secret of my success, and a lot of other things that I've shared already. We can take the
Thank
participant questions now, right? I guess a lot
Yeah,
of.
we'll move to the few of the participant questions now, Dinesh. As I mentioned that during our flow of the interview and the whole program, sorry, whole program, we already have covered few of those questions. So I'll attempt with the sequence that we have got it. So we have a question from Ved. I think partly you already have answered it. Ved is asking, what are the best to measure your capabilities? The best
Come
ways.
again.
Ved is asking, what are the best ways to measure your capabilities?
Look at the results, I would say, because as I said, we may not be lying to others, but we tend to lie to ourselves in terms of underestimating or overestimating. So, best is to see results. Take the responsibilities on your shoulders and see what results you produce. And if you are not
Mhm.
able to produce result, doesn't mean you are a failure. That's important. Life is not binary, 0 or 1, that you're successful or you have failed. I would say take responsibilities on your shoulders, give your best shot, be ready for failures also. Risk taking is important. When you make decisions, you might make mistakes. So when you fail in achieving a particular goal, that doesn't mean you have failed. It means that you are not till you're not up to there. There is something, there is a gap between what is needed and what you are, but you're not at zero. You have already reached this level, right? Maybe you're not here, but you have reached this level. So you need to pat yourself back and take those failures also with positive spirit. So the best way to evaluate is take the responsibilities and prove yourself. Otherwise, people just keep on thinking. So we want people who take actions, and not just who think. Yeah, who take responsibilities, risk, decisions. Yeah,
We
that's the best way
understand. We
to
understand.
measure your capabilities, I would say.
Right, right. I understand. Next question is from Mr. Sanjay Pekam. He's asking if someone realizes late that he is in wrong field, how he should make course correction.
Yeah, a large number. Mentor for so many people, right? Nearly 3,000 people I've mentored with one-to-one, very intensive session, closed door, one-to-one, like 1 2 hour sessions. And I see there are a large number of us who are on the wrong career track and they want to change. I've seen people doing drastic changes also, leaving software field and being an event manager, leaving software field and starting a restaurant, leaving software field and becoming a photographer and all of that. So it is definitely possible, but it should not be just idea, as I said. It should be backed with knowledge and capability. Suppose you want to leave. I'm giving an example. Like if you want to, a student of mine who started her software career and then she decided that software is not my cup of tea. Not that software is bad, but she was not liking it. She became a makeup artist and now she earns some 30, 40, 50,000 rupees a day minimum. So even if she gets some 7 8 assignment, she is earning like a vice president or a director probably. So one can change career tracks, but again, as I said earlier, look at what you want to achieve. To achieve that, are you ready to do sacrifices and do you have the required capability for that? Because capability, a right evaluation of capability, being ready for the sacrifices and being sure about what you want. Look at that triangle, a combination, and then jump. It need not be just a leap of faith necessarily. You have to analyze properly, you have to plan properly, you have to create your own people network, you have to come up with plan A, B, C, D. This is plan A. In the ideal situation, I want to achieve plan A. But if that doesn't work out, what is going to be plan B? What is going to be plan C, I would say. And if you change career tracks, be ready for the shocks in between. Majority of us cannot do it because there is social pressure. Oh, how can you be a photographer? How can be a hotelier or something like that? So if you really want to live a happy life, don't take social pressure. By saying that, don't take social pressure, I'm not saying if the society is doing this, you do 180-degree opposite. I'm not saying that. I'm saying do what you want as long as you are convinced about what you want to do and be ready for the risks. Suppose you take home a salary of 1 lakh rupees in IT or whatever work you are doing, and if you change the field for next few months, you might not earn a single penny. And are you ready for that? You should be ready for that. Or the status you are getting because you are going to Japan and Germany or whatever, now you don't get to go there because you have chosen a different profession. Are you okay with that? Because to gain something, you have to lose something. So don't take social pressure and be ready for the required sacrifices. Any kind of career track changes can happen. If you need guidance, you can consult a career mentor like me who can help you with analyzing and suggesting you ways and a roadmap also.
Certainly, I think this answer is going to help many of us, Dinesh. Thank you for that. Moving on to the next question, which is from Rishikesh. Rishikesh is asking, what if you are from tier 2 or tier 3 college, then how to climb in the corporate world?
Your voice is breaking, Digvijay.
Okay, this question is from Rishikesh. He is asking, what if you are from tier 2 or tier 3 college, then how to climb in the corporate world?
Okay. Definitely, if you come from, say, tier 2, tier 3 colleges, initially there is a challenge. Definitely, it happens people from IITs or BITS or NITs or government colleges get much higher salaries in those world-class companies. But definitely, they start with an advantage, and people with tier 2, tier 3 colleges had to start with something moderate, I would say. But that doesn't stop you from succeeding if you have the right knowledge, right capabilities, right mindset, and right attitude. And if you're ready to work hard and not just hard, I always say, believe me, I have been the youngest in my role. I had a cabin to myself in Infosys at the age of 31. I was heading a department, I had a cabin. I was the youngest department head. The others were like 45, 48. But I did not work for 18, 20 hours or something. I always believed in working smartly as such, putting that ownership and passion into my work, I would say. So that is what one has to do. And when you do that, what college you come from does not matter. Moreover, you would have seen that after you work for 2, 3, 4 years, you don't have to put which college you passed out from. You don't have to put your marks also in your resume. That no longer matters. The interviewer is going to grill you on your knowledge, your capabilities, and he's going to check, have you produced results. So are you a man of action? Have you produced results? Have you faced failures? Do you know how to handle failure? You know, and you keep learning. That is important. As I said earlier, it's a knowledge industry, so learning is very important. It's not just my degrees. I've done a lot of certifications, also PMP certification. I'm a certified Scrum Master. I'm a IBM certified expert in designing. So it's not just the certification. I would say that I keep on learning always. When I do mentoring to people, I guide them, and they're so happy. I bring them out of stress, depression. I make them very successful. But when I do that, I learn from them. So we all need to keep on learning, not just at a young age. At every age, we need to keep on learning as such. So that is very important. So tier two, tier three college doesn't matter. I can tell you, that I studied in a very, very normal Marathi medium school. I used to wear a khaki half pant, white half shirt, and 5 rupees ka chappal. I used to go to a very normal Marathi medium school. There was a time in my life when I was not able to speak in English at all. And now the largest audiences that I've kept glued to my session is like 1,000 people. I have taught in New York also, Houston also, Seattle also, Britain also. So if I can teach all at all these places, if I can play very senior roles, so I come from a very normal Marathi medium school, everybody can do that. So I would say it is up to you to have belief in yourself, work hard and smart, and there is no limit. Your college does not matter really.
Sure, sure. That's helpful, Dinesh. So for all our viewers, here we are skipping few of the questions. We just have time for two more questions here. So we are not including the questions which are already answered by Dinesh or which are not in the scope of today's session. But you can certainly ask in the comment box, and Dinesh will try to answer those questions after the session. Okay. So moving on to the next question, Dinesh. Pretty interesting
Definitely,
question
I'll
from
answer
Vishal.
after the session. Yeah.
Yeah. A pretty interesting question from Vishal. He's asking, is it mandatory to be a jack of all and master of one in order to grow in your career?
See, it depends on your career choices as such. If you go into management roles, you need to be a jack of all. You need to understand marketing, finance, operations, supply chain, human resources. You have to understand everything. You're not expert. There are people supporting you for architecting, designing, human management, accounting, but you need to be jack of all trades in terms of understanding that, because you have to oversee their work, you have to guide them, etc. But definitely, all of us need to be good at one or more things. And believe me, we are multifaceted personalities. Like I guide you on career, I guide people on their second innings. I retired at 39 with my financial planning. So a lot of people come to me saying that, Ari, how do I do my financial planning and retire early? So see, the way I have multiple facets to my personality, you also have those multiple facets to personality. So as I said earlier, I like to repeat that because it relates to this question is love everything that comes to your plate. Okay, so whatever is given to you, do it with a lot of love and passion, and you will blossom. And over a period of time, see, many times we feel that we love something, but later when we do it, we understand that, oh, it was not love, it was just a crush. Okay, and I don't seem to like it. That happens, that is bound to happen. So I would say that do not build walls around your brain that I am this kind of a person, I am not that kind of a person, I can do this, I cannot do this. Just do everything with a lot of love, passion, and ownership. And choose the right career tracks, and that would decide. There could be people who just do research in one particular very niche area in microbiology or something, and they get paid heavily. So there is no one rule here that should I be jack of all trades or master of none, or I should be master at something and I don't know many things. It depends on what career choices you have. Okay, just don't put any walls around you. Do everything with commitment and passion, I would say, and then life will decide. Or that role will decide whether you need to be expert at something or jack of all trades or a combination. Probably.
Right. Hope your question is answered, Vishal. And now moving to the last question of the day. This question is from Akshay. So Dinesh is asking, how difficult is it to prepare for civil services along with IT job? And to include few more questions here, I will just modify it a little. So shall shall people do preparations whether it's civil services or any other hobbies along with IT job, keeping just as a backup in case if they fail in the second thing, they will have IT job as their backup.
Yeah, one can do that, but see, I have mentored a few people who appeared for IAS, and I know how difficult it is. People camp in Delhi for years together, and they kind of quarantine themselves at home. Voluntarily, they stay at home for 18 hours a day and study. But even after that, it's very challenging. Look at the probability, the number of people who appear for IAS, the prelims, mains, interviews, etc. The percentage of people who go through and become IAS is very less. So I'm not discouraging you from doing that. But it's your decision, because people who are studying full time also find it so difficult to crack IAS. If you're going to do it along with job, it is even going to be more difficult for you because you are keeping one leg here in IT career, one being an IAS, and you want both is going to be difficult. At the same time, if you prepare full time, there are no guarantees that you will become IAS officer. I have seen cases where first hand cases. I know those people. I cannot name them because anybody who comes to me for mentoring, the discussion and the name of the person remains absolutely confidential. But I know people, multiple people. I know a person whose mother and father are IAS officers in Madhya Pradesh. Both, mother and father both are IAS officers. This girl tried to become IAS for 7 years. She was working hard full time. Okay, she couldn't become IAS officer, and then she was kind of devastated. She was a computer engineer. She didn't remember anything from computer engineering. She was 29 years of age. She had lost all the attempts of IAS, and then but still there is hope. The battle is never lost, and then we discussed what she wanted, what her capabilities, etc., whatever I told you. And then she went to UK to do her masters in some data analytics, and she'll be completing it soon, and then she would do a job out there. So there is no one answer. It's very challenging. It's very challenging. So you can have high aims, but have a plan B also. And why you want to do it is what you have to be clear of. Why do you want a government job?
Totally, Dinesh. We understand it. It totally makes sense. Dinesh, we really learned very important aspects about career growth, challenges, and just not about career, but life, work-life balance from you today. I think this many of us are going to bookmark today's session so that we can refer to it again and again and improve the way we are dealing with our career and life right now as of today. So, Dinesh, I really appreciate your time and support for Com TV. It was really great having you in today's session. Thank you so much for joining us, Dinesh.
Yeah, just few closing remarks.
Yeah,
I would like everybody attending this session to live a fulfilling life. As such, don't focus only on career. Be very successful in career, but have a beautiful life also. Take care of your family, have friends, have your hobbies, have your career, money, everything. But do a good balance between those and have your own definition of success. Okay, don't go by the social pressure. Enjoy the journey. Don't wait for the destinations. If you need any help anytime, please feel free to connect with me. Thanks for your patience. Thank to the participants. Thanks to Com TV for inviting me. Thanks Digvijay for anchoring this session. I enjoyed this session and all the best to everyone.
Pleasure is all ours, Dinesh. So viewers, to all our viewers, we'll be sharing the details of Dinesh Anantwar's contact, whether it's Facebook or any other contact details in our comment box. So you can check it there and you can contact him if required. Okay. Thank you again, Dinesh, for joining us. And all
Thank
viewers,
you.
to our viewers, I hope you have liked today's session. You have got important inputs and you have got the answers that you're looking for. If your questions are still unanswered, just keep watching the comment box and Dinesh might get back to us with his inputs on your questions. So if you like today's session,
Thank you.
sure. Thank you. Thank you so much, Dinesh. And to all
Thank
our viewers, if you liked our session today, please hit that like button there. And to continue receiving notifications for our future sessions, you can subscribe to our channel. And if you have any feedback, any suggestion, any queries based on today's session, don't forget to add it in the comment box. I again thank you all for joining us. And just a quick instruction about our next session, which is going to be on May 19th, 5 p.m. The topic of the session will be how to emotionally stay calm in lockdown. Okay, very important. And how to deal loss in business because of Corona situation. And the guest will be Rasika Padgilwar Gajalwar, who is a psychologist and counselor by profession. So, friends, stay tuned for this session. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank our backend team, Anurag Vyavhare and Chaitanya Gadam, for their never-ending support and for balancing this session very well without any hiccups and providing all the support needed. Thank you, Anurag and Chaitanya. And to all our viewers, keep connected to us in the comment box. And see you again on May 19th. Stay tuned to our session. Stay home, stay safe, and goodbye. Thank you, everyone.
Bye, everyone.